Secretary, thank you for being here. As you know, Puerto Rico has gone through an unprecedented humanitarian crisis because of two Category 4 hurricanes that struck the island 6 months ago. As a result, Puerto Rico has lost tax revenues and even had to lend $300 million to PREPA, the island's electric utility. The governor of Puerto Rico has informed us that the Treasury Department has yet to approve the community disaster loan, which was approved by Congress last October, and that Treasury is only offering $2.06 billion out of a possible $4.7 billion. So I have a couple of questions. My first one is, mindful that the 78 municipalities are submitting separate CDL applications, why is Treasury only offering a fraction of the amount approved by Congress, and why has Treasury taken so long in approving the CDL loan?
Well, thank you for asking that question, and I share your concerns of obviously the impact that this has had on the economy there. So first of all, let me just clear up certain issues. Within the overall bill, there was money that can be allocated to Puerto Rico. There's not the entire bill was allocated to Puerto Rico. So that's number one. There are restrictions as to what can be allocated. Number two, which has been misreported in the press, we have given the governor and the committee a term sheet. So we are prepared to move forward with documents. We've been doing that. We have documents in front of them. They're asking for certain things, but we stand ready to lend them the money. We're also monitoring their cash balances on a weekly basis. And as part of my commitment to this, I'm actually going to stop in Puerto Rico on the way back from the G20 finance ministers meeting to see the damage and make sure that the money is getting there quickly. So we are working with them, and I can assure you we have a team at Treasury that stands ready to lend them money right away. We are not holding this up.
Now, what is the main holdup, though? I mean, it is being held up. You're saying you're not holding it up.
Again, I'd be happy to sit down with your staff and talk about this privately, okay? There are things that they're asking for more, but I don't want to go into what the negotiation here is in this setting, but I can tell you there are documents that are in front of them that we are ready to lend, A, and B, we are monitoring their cash flows to make sure that they have the necessary funds.
Well, I hope we can get that money flowing as soon as possible, and that feel free to share with us when you wish what the problems may be, because maybe we can be helpful with you.
Thank you.
And, with the government on the island. Most CDL loans have historically been forgiven by the federal government. Why is Treasury more concerned with imposing stringent terms on the loan than in forgiving CDL debt, something that is very concerning in light of Puerto Rico's precarious financial situation?
We're not making any decisions today whether they will be forgiven or won't be forgiven. What we're focused on, as I said, is making sure that they have access to the funds, and we are prepared and ready to lend to them now.
So you're prepared to lend to them now, and you will make at a later date the decision whether these loans will be forgiven or not? I mean, this is historically something that's been done. This wouldn't be something that you would be called out for in the press or anywhere for doing. It's been done before, often.
Again, we're happy to follow up with you and your staff and talk through the specifics of that and get your views.
Okay, there seems to be a lot of, I wouldn't call it secrecy, but a lot of things you can't say in public about the dealings of Treasury with Puerto Rico. I hope that secrecy or inability to say these things in public does not continue to hold up the funds.
There's no secrecy. What I'm being very clear on, and let me be perfectly clear, we have documents in front of them that we are prepared to lend. I think it would be inappropriate in this forum. There are changes that they want to these documents. I think it would be inappropriate for me to go through that level of detail. There's no secrets. Again, we're ready to fund to them now. There are things that they're asking for that is holding this up. But let me assure you, we're monitoring their cash balances. And as I said to you, as a function of the importance of this, I'm actually stopping in Puerto Rico on the way back from my trip to the G20.
So in 2 seconds, the headline for today's meeting and my questioning is you're ready to lend now.
Absolutely. Money's ready.
Thank you. I say, Mr. Chairman, that I was very nervous for a second. Whenever I hear one of my colleagues mention the Jones Act, I get nervous because not too many people know that there are two Jones Act. One has to do with shipping, and one was this week. In 1917, Puerto Ricans got American citizenship. So I hope they don't make a mistake when they tinker with the Jones Act. Don't tinker with the wrong one in my case. Mr. Secretary, the CDFI fund has helped entities invest billions of dollars in economically underserved areas, including in my district in the Bronx, New York. Nevertheless, your FY 2019 budget proposes to eliminate all CDFI discretionary grant programs. I will be working with my colleagues on both sides of the aisle, with all due respect, to make sure that that does not happen. However, since you propose to eliminate CDFI, how do you plan to cover the gap in providing affordable credit and investment capital to low-income communities and individuals?
Sure. Well, thank you. First, let me just acknowledge that the CDFI funds do provide significant benefit to many communities, and I know there is bipartisan support, so we look forward to working with you on this. The decision to eliminate the CDFI was just a difficult decision as we looked at spending priorities across the department and thinking that there are other mechanisms that we have and that there's private sector solutions. But having said that, if Congress decides that they want to fund that, we will dutifully do that, and we acknowledge there are significant benefits.
Well, that took care of my second question, because you do admit publicly, which is a good thing, that it has bipartisan support. It always has, and it does a good job, and hope that we could work together on saving the program and helping it grow, honestly. Mr. Secretary, one last question. You've been quoted as saying that cutting personnel from the IRS can actually hurt in the collection of revenues. And I've always had this gripe, this concern, that every time we cut an agent, we lose money that could be collected. You're cutting thousands, it seems to me. How do you balance what you have said in the past and what you're doing in the budget? And I understand that some of these decisions are not easy to make. You just admitted the CDFI, you were not against it, but it was a decision that had to be made. What's the problem here?
Well, again, let me just say, as we look at the IRS, and let me just commend, as I said, the many people at the IRS that do an incredible job collecting our revenues. It is an enormous organization, and we're making some difficult decisions on funding. So one, we asked for additional funding. We've also asked for an additional $386 million in what we call program integrity cap adjustments. I know this is something that Congress has been reluctant to give us in the past, but I'd encourage you to look at. It's a way of us raising additional money that can be used appropriately. Specifically, in your comment in enforcement, there's no question additional people we put in enforcement do yield significant benefits in terms of revenue. We've asked for a correction error authority, which will also simplify things. So again, we're just trying to manage difficult resource requirements across the IRS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Cartwright.